everybody, and welcome to more ACAC hockey, where we see the SAIT Trojans versus the Portage College Voyageurs for the second time in 2 days. Matchup here in beautiful Winsport Arena. Both teams played again last night, where we saw the SAIT Trojans go up 2-1 over the Voyageurs in an exciting matchup. On the call today, I am Brendan Donald as your play-by-play man, and joining me is Colton Pankey. How are you doing today, Colton?
Good, Brendan. Excited to be here. Obviously, wasn't able to be at the game yesterday, so hoping to see another tightly contested battle today.
Yeah, it was an absolutely beautiful game last night. Both teams fought really, really hard. SAIT Trojans outshot Portage. If I remember correctly, it was something like 48-19, but obviously only having that 2-1 victory, and both of the goals coming on the power play, where we saw Zach Cox and Dylan Clark getting the 2 goals for the Trojans. Obviously tonight, it's going to be a little bit more, I'm interested to see how Trojans are going to react. Obviously having that really hot goaltender in Najenko yesterday, he's not going to be our starting goaltender for Portage today. But also having another new goalie for the SAIT Trojans today is Spencer Welke. Obviously, fans of the broadcast who watched the Trojans before definitely recognize that name. He is the younger brother of the twins Mackenzie and Carson Welke. So a fun thing that we could potentially say tonight is Welke passes to Welke, who then passes to Welke, and then Welke scores.
Yeah, let's hope we get that. That will be a fun one. But yeah, like you said, I'm excited. I'm excited to see how the Voyageurs come out and play. Obviously, they were outshot heavily last night, so you have to wonder how the legs are feeling. But I guess we'll find out in a couple minutes here.
Yeah, and another thing for Portage, obviously, they only came down to Calgary with 14 skates. That is a very, very tough situation to deal with. It is very rough on the legs, and only being able to rotate 14 guys last night and now having to come back again on a short turnaround is also a really, really tough, challenging thing to do. And I want to see how well they respond. Obviously getting close into that 50-minute mark of the game yesterday. You could tell Portage was getting tired, and they were really kind of playing on the defense. But one thing that we did see from Portage yesterday, they were one of the worst power play units in the league last year. They looked really, really good yesterday, even though they did let up 2 power play goals. But one of the things that I'm looking here for tonight, the SAIT Trojans were one of the most penalized teams in the ACAC last year. Once they start to get hot, it seems like they never really decided to cool down. We kind of saw it a little bit yesterday. They did a better job at making sure when they did get a little heated, they brought it back. But for them, this is going to be a very key thing moving forward into the future for this team. They were really, really good at getting goals, but they weren't good at staying out of the box, which definitely hurt them a lot. And again, another thing we need to look for the SAIT Trojans team is obviously making sure that you play a full 60 minutes. That was another thing last year we saw a ton of. You would see a first period that Trojans would struggle, then, second and third, they'd come out and look amazing. Or, for instance, you would see first and second period amazing, and then third period complete fall off. So, again, yesterday, first game of the year, kind of hard to judge with both teams. Not really going to take that one into consideration. Today, definitely hoping to see a really nice, strong matchup. But for you today, Colton, what are some of the things that you hope to see from both squads?
Well, I think for the Trojans, kind of like you said, instead of just kind of playing in spurts, playing a full 60 minutes, I think that's a big thing. Obviously, yesterday you have the pregame jitters. So that plays a factor into things. Like you said, it's just the first game, so we'll kind of see if they're able to put together a more complete effort today. Obviously staying out of the box, staying disciplined, like you said. For the Voyageurs, like I said earlier, just kind of excited to see how they're able to kind of get their legs going with the 14 skaters and just being outplayed for the majority of yesterday. But looking on the other side of that, they were able to still keep the 2-1 game despite only having 14 skaters. So I think that will kind of help them momentum-wise today as well.
Yeah, so going in tonight, obviously we said Spencer Welke. This is part of the new goalie tandem for SAIT this year. Spencer Welke and Boston Beluas, both now freshman goalies. But here we stand for the national anthem. almost time for the opening puck drop here in this game. Second time these two teams have played in the last 24 hours. The end of last night's game, both teams starting to get a little bit heated with each other, so we're gonna see if either of that comes over to today's game, or are both teams gonna come in with nice, cool, calm heads. But it is exciting. SAIT not going with their starting lineup, or SAIT not going with their number one lineup, but it's still going to be really exciting. Portage able to win the opening face-off here, going back to their own zone behind the net. Passing around. Ooh, excellent opportunity for Cox, stealing it in the zone. That was a dangerous opportunity.
Right off the bat.
Very dangerous opportunity for SAIT there. Portage, that is not something you want to see happen, where they put the puck in front of their own goaltender for what was really a wide open shot for SAIT. SAIT gets another good shooting opportunity. One thing that Portage did a really good job at yesterday, Colton, was they were able to definitely make sure that once SAIT got into the zone, they were able to push them out relatively quickly. Right now, they're struggling a little bit right in front of
have to weather the storm right now a bit. But yeah, that's not the start you want to see from them there with that play right up the middle, but obviously they got the save they needed, so see if they can regroup from that.
Yeah, and obviously, Colton, you were a high-level goaltender growing up. What's it like to have that first shot of the game, especially if it's a little bit more tricky? Obviously, as a goaltender, that's something that you want to have, Hat.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to get shots right away, because otherwise you're kind of feeling a little, I guess, just getting a little, not bored, but, you know, it's tough to get into the game, but once you make that big first save, it really can help with momentum. If you let in that first shot, it can sometimes result in a tricky game, so getting that first big save out of the way is definitely big.
Yeah, and obviously yesterday, Najenko was a very, very hot goaltender for Portage. We do not have him in today. It is actually Alex Rosani in net for the Portage Voyageurs. SAIT doing a really, really good job right now, keeping that puck in the zone with another good opportunity there. But Portage able to get the puck out, and they're skating out. That is Spencer Kennedy trying to get it around. Trojans getting it behind their net, trying to set some stuff up. That is Jenkins all the way to Schneeves to Falgaris. Moving it in, just dumps it into the zone. Around the corner for Portage, they're able to do something. Can the Trojans keep it in? And they do. That is Mackenzie Welke, the captain for the SAIT Trojans, able to keep that puck in. And obviously tonight, SAIT is definitely looking for that number one line to pick up the pace a little bit, because they were kept off the score sheet the entirety of the night. And they didn't necessarily have a bad game, but they didn't have a game that you would expect from number one lineup.
Yeah, I don't think that's a common theme we'll see from them too often, not putting up points. Obviously, we know what this line can do, so even tonight, I think, look for them to probably get on the board at some point here.
Yeah, Carson Welke yesterday easily could have opened up the score sheet for yesterday's game, as we're going to have a puck bouncing out of play. But Carson Welke could have opened up the game in the first period and was ultimately robbed. And if you saw that save in the NHL for what Najenko did yesterday, you would be seeing that save on TSN every single night for the next week.
Yeah.
So you know he's hungry to get that goal on there. Obviously, they're no longer on the ice, but for that opening, for that number one lineup for the Trojans, you definitely know that they are hungry to get some more production here tonight.
Well, I think it comes with being frustrated too. If the goalie's making a couple of those big saves early on, it can get in your head. So a new day and kind of a fresh slate for those guys.
Yeah, and Spencer Welke getting his first save opportunity of the night. And again, like we were saying a little bit earlier, it's really nice for a goaltender to get that opening shot, to build a little bit more confidence. And
calms the nerves.
Calms the nerves a little bit for sure. And Spencer Welke playing in his first ever SAIT Trojans game, obviously the freshman, younger brother of both Carson and Mackenzie. So here we have the face-off in the Trojan zone. One thing that we saw a lot of yesterday is both teams playing a lot in the neutral zone. That is where a big portion of yesterday's game came in. And here we see Brett Tretham shooting it in, but nice little battle here in the corner going behind the net. Dangerous opportunity. Ty Carrier was in front of the net looking for an opportunity. The puck just couldn't quite get to him. But another dangerous opportunity for these SAIT Trojans. So far, with 3 minutes into the game, Trojans are out shooting Portage 5-1. So kind of picking up exactly where we left off yesterday.
Some more
another
great goaltending today as well so far. Versal looks very solid in there.
Yeah, McAdoo there with the shot on the after the face-off. But one thing that we're seeing a little bit normally from different, Brent Trentham normally playing the forward role, getting into that defensive role just for a little bit of a change-up. Something nice to see, but yeah, we see him normally on a winger spot, but today playing the defense.
Well, the coaches love to have those guys too, right? A bit of a Swiss Army knife that can go back and forth like that, so it gives them more options throughout the entire season and just on a shift-by-shift option as well.
Yeah, exactly. You definitely want to have one of those two-way players, that you're going to have confidence regardless. And you know what, for a forward, it's not necessarily a bad thing to get him to play some defensive snaps. It's going to make him a better two-way player. Carrier there with a nice shot. Not really an aggressive shot, definitely one kind of more towards the chest of the goaltender. Obviously, as a goalie, the thing when that happens is you don't want to give up those nasty rebounds, especially in front of your net. Goaltending coaches hate that. Yeah. I know goalies particularly hate that.
Well, defensemen too, right? Because then they got to work more to clear the guys in front. Yeah, so far we really haven't seen any rebounds.
Yeah, and not even 16 or not even 5 minutes into the game, SAIT Trojans already have 7 shots on the board. So, again, yesterday, we saw these SAIT Trojans struggle to put the puck in the back of the net. The only time they ever got anything was on the power play. So far, it's been a very clean game. Icing call right here, but you definitely want to see these Trojans 5-on-5 be able to put some scoring up there because they have the talent to do it. Dylan Clark was a guy that I highlighted yesterday, playing 4 years in the AJHL last year, and he played for 2 different teams, played in 58 games, got 58 points. So he is a guy that can put up a lot of points for your squad. And one of the things, obviously, with the SAIT Trojans team last year, they had that #1 line of the Welke brothers and Huber. But now they really have an amazing amount of depth. They had a second line too, but that line's all gone. So now they're definitely starting to look for more players that can produce points. And obviously, that first line last year, true freshmen. So now they have a second-year line where they gel together, they know a little bit more about each other, they've had a year of playing experience. So, that first game, they were frustrated to not be able to put anything up on the board.
Yeah, and it is a frustrating thing. It's kind of one of those things. If you keep putting up shots like that, eventually the results will come. So they just have to make sure they don't get too frustrated and kind of stick with what they were doing yesterday. Despite what the score says, there was a lot of positives to take from it from an offensive standpoint. So just, make sure they don't get too frustrated and continue to put pucks on that.
Yeah, Schneeves coming in here looking for a shooting opportunity. Another good shot, but just goes a little bit wide. But yeah, going back to what the great one, 99, Wayne Gretzky says, exactly. You're not going to be able to score if you don't take a shot.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, it's simple, but it makes sense, right? The more pucks you get on net, the better chances you have of putting offense on the board.
Exactly, and Chase Felgaris there getting a little bit tripped up there. Former Humboldt Bronco playing for us. But here we have our first power play of today's game. That is Gavin Maddie. Not happy with the call there, but that was pretty clear. Chase Felgaris was trying to get out of the zone, but getting tripped up there. Yesterday on the power play, Trojans obviously getting 2 out of 6. So this is where we saw them get their goals yesterday. Can they open up today's game with an opportunity? Unfortunately, Felgaris just can't quite keep it in there.
Bit of a lucky break there for the Trojans. It looked like, I think that was
Tyrell
Bork. That looked like he was sprung free there. The puck must have just got somebody on the bench, but it looked like he was set free.
Yeah, the Trojans definitely got gifted an offside call there because Bork, he was going in with speed, and you know what? There was no one there to help out. He would have had a clear, opportunity to go right for Spencer Welke. Again, who's only had that one shot, making a second save there of the night. But this is definitely not what the Trojans want to be happening right now, having the majority of this power play, the pressure being on them. But now they're moving in. That is that's Miller, going in, passes it around. Now it is McAdams passing it around. That is Miller. Back to McAdams. Going to Williamson, and McAdams goes for a shot, but just can't get it home. Good battle by Portage. Yeah. One thing that I noticed yesterday, obviously Portage last season had one of the worst power plays or penalty kills in the league. But yesterday, one of the things that they changed up and did really, really well with is they didn't give SAIT a lot of shooting opportunities. They made them work and have to take really weird angled shots, which again, for some instances could be good, but if you're a Trojans player, you were so frustrated because you just couldn't get the shots off. Huber, he had an opportunity. He was looking, but just fires it behind the net.
Yeah, to your point there, it's a very aggressive penalty kill, right? It seems like as soon as the Trojans player gets the puck, they're just being hounded right away, so they really don't have much time, which really puts an emphasis on moving the puck quickly and getting these Voyageurs players out of position.
Yeah, and so far for the first minute and 25 seconds of this power play, the Trojans really haven't had a superstar defining shot on the net. Again, Portage is really making them work, which is something that we saw yesterday. One of the questions that we had for Portage is how are their legs going to be opening this period? Because obviously only 14 players came down from Portage to Calgary to play in this game.
Well, that makes staying out of the penalty box all the more important too.
It really, really does. One thing that we saw a lot for Portage yesterday as Hubert comes in is they did a lot of really quick shifts. That's a way to keep your guys fresh.
Yeah, for sure.
And they did it really well for the most part yesterday, but you just saw them getting so tired near the end of the game. And, obviously once you start to get a little bit more tired, it's hard to keep the puck out of your zone. But McKenzie getting good opportunity there, just not able to get it done. And here we see Spencer Welke having to make a move. And, dangerous opportunity for Portage at the end of this power play. They are able to kill it, but here we see McAdoo come in. Another good opportunity. Trentham's looking for a penalty, but nothing to come to avail. Portage coming in. That is Gavin Matty who served the penalty. He's going around looking for an opportunity, shoots it, and a save by Spencer Welke, bouncing around behind him.
Good shot there for Matty, just throwing pucks on net from any angle, and you never know what can happen. If you have a guy in front like that, you get a good opportunity.
Yeah, so obviously you played high-level goalie for a lot of years. What is your thoughts of bouncing pucks behind the net?
Just keeping an eye on them?
Well, just like, what's your thought? Obviously, it's kind of like to the side, behind, and there's guys in front of you. It's just like, what's your thoughts? Because obviously, you probably aren't super comfortable with it.
No, it can be very chaotic, and that's kind of what I mean by throwing pucks on net from anywhere, right? Because then, once you get guys in front, they're bouncing around, and it really turns into a bit of a scrum out front where everyone's kind of just hacking away at it. So it's definitely a highly chaotic situation.
Yeah, Dale with a really good shot there. He had an opportunity, just couldn't quite get the stick to connect on that one. But so far for Portage, they've done a really good job. Mackenzie Welke making an absolutely smart move there by just slapping the puck away from him, not allowing it to get in front of them. Obviously, we have an icing call, so Trojans are unable to make the switch here.
Not a bad play there, though. Like you said, since the Voyageurs have gotten off that penalty, or since they killed off that penalty, they're kind of taking it to the Trojans here. Yeah,
they have definitely found a little bit of juice and a little bit of life at the moment. One thing I will say that we noticed a lot yesterday is this is a very, very bouncy ice surface. We see a lot of bouncing pucks, and when you have that, it's always tricky as a player because you have to learn the way the bounces are. And as a goaltender, you definitely can't be liking that because
rimming the puck in, right? If you're not following it off the boards, kind of like you'd said before, behind the net and stuff, it can bounce off anywhere and pop right in front. So you've really got to make sure you're tracking it.
Yeah, Gidney there making a really good opportunity. He's fighting there in the corner. Portage has done a really good job, kind of like what you were saying a little bit earlier. Once that power play ended, they have had all the juice. Belgaris there trying to move in, looking for a shot, just can't quite get it on there. A bit of a bouncing puck in front. Very, very good save. That was a really good opportunity for the SAIT Trojans, just not able to get anything behind. 11 minutes and 3 seconds remaining here in this first period. Colton, what have been your thoughts so far?
You know what, I think for the most part, the Trojans have come out and kind of done everything they wanted. Obviously, these last few minutes haven't been the best shifts for them, but I think if they keep putting pucks on net like this, they are going to be successful. But in saying that, it looks like they might be running into a hot goalie yet again today.
Yeah, and just unfortunately, Trojans really didn't have much of an answer here. Buda almost had a really good opportunity there. Spencer Kennedy trying to block the puck there on the boards, but just slips behind him. But yeah, Portage has come out with two hot goaltenders at the moment, and obviously, unfortunately, when you run into those hot goaltenders, it's really hard to get goals going. And to start your season off like this, if you just keep putting those pucks on the net, again, you just kind of need to keep firing, keep trying. Sooner or later, something's going to work.
You got to stick with it. At the same time, though, it can have guys gripping their sticks a little bit tighter because they kind of start second-guessing themselves a little bit. So they have to just make sure they stick with it here.
Yeah, totally agree there, but sit away with a shot. But, you know, sometimes when you get with those hot goaltenders, sometimes you just got to be happy with taking those greasy, dirty goals there. And yeah, that was blocked up there. It looks like we're going to have an offside. But yeah, obviously, you're forward, D-man, getting those dirty goals. That's not necessarily something you're the most happy with, but you're sure as heck going to take it.
Well, especially in games like this, yeah, it's not necessarily the highlight reel ones you need right now. Kind of the ones to get things going are those greasy goals like you're talking about.
Yeah, Portage moving it around, trying to look for some open space there. Here we see Dale moving it around. Portage doing a good job. Can they keep it in? They do, but it bounces into the stick of Trentham for the Trojans. Schneeves passes it up to McAdams, but couldn't find anyone. The dangerous opportunity, Portage's goaltender came very much out with the puck still being in play and all 5 SAIT Trojans players being in the zone. A little bit of a risky move, not sure something I would do, but...
I was going to say, I was looking to see if a whistle had went there. I was surprised that he was that far out with given the situation.
Yeah, again, sometimes I guess maybe just a little bit of situational awareness there, trying to find it, but a good shot for Jenkins, just can't quite connect on the net. And this is something that we saw a lot of yesterday, just good opportunities and good shots, just not connecting as well as they could. And here comes Portage moving up and just firing it around. Moving it up to the captain, Mackenzie Welke, looking for someone there, trying to find Huber, one of those teammates that he had last year that he was so talented with. Huber leading the team in points with Mackenzie coming in second in points in last year, but so far kept off the score sheet today. Here we see Portage moving in with a lot of speed here. That is Bork firing, and oh, a very dangerous opportunity. I don't think Spencer Welke saw the puck there.
We got a Trojan down here.
We do have a Trojan down.
Alex Moore, I believe.
Yeah. But it kind of looked like there that Spencer Welke lost the puck a little bit because he was on one side and the puck was very much on the other.
So that's that thing that we're saying, right, about pucks on net from anywhere. It's not a very good scoring opportunity, you wouldn't think, but just put it on net, you don't know what can happen. You kind of lost track of it, and that was very close to going into the back of the net.
Yeah, Alex Moore is up and he's skating off, which is very, very good to see. Hopefully we get to see him back out on the ice. There was obviously no malicious intent on that play. It was just 2 guys running in, and unfortunate situation happened there. Something that you see quite often here. Vizram, you know, player right in front of us here, did an amazing job yesterday. He was able to move the puck. That was a really, really good opportunity. Yeah, Spencer Kennedy with the tip pass there, but here we see the Trojans back on. Casey was trying to find Huber, but just cannot quite connect on that one.
You know, I think give the Voyageurs some credit here. We questioned how their legs would be coming into this game after a lengthy one yesterday with just the 14 skaters, as we talked about. They've looked pretty strong to start this period past the midway point, and they've kept with the Trojans thus far.
Yeah, they definitely look like they did their cardio this summer, making sure that they were on top of it. But Buddha here on the faceoff against Mackenzie Welke, and no real winner for that one, just kind of bouncing around. But here we see Huber trying to get it, but bouncing back into the SAIT Trojan zone. Mackenzie Welke trying to get it. Carson Welke chasing after it, but this is full control Portage at the moment. Buddha looking. Bouncing puck off the board. Huber's trying to get around Portage defender, but just ultimately met by Vizram. Little bit of extra activity at the end of that play. And again, going back to what we were saying before the broadcast started, or before the game started in the opening part of the broadcast, we need to see the Trojans, when they start to get a little heated, make sure that they don't take it to that extreme, because once that started last year, they did not cool off, and that's when they really got into trouble with the penalties.
Yeah, there's that fine line for sure. At the same time, it looks like the refs are kind of set on letting them play a bit today, which will make it a good game.
yesterday we saw the refs definitely let these guys play. There was a few situations where even on the air I was like, that's a penalty, and then Travis, the color guy yesterday, we were looking at each other like, oh, and it's not a penalty, but okay, here we go. So for you, being longtime hockey player, do you prefer it when the refs kind of just let you play it, or would you like to see them make the calls when they're actually there?
No, I mean, maybe a bit more of an old school approach, but I like it when they put the whistles away. You see it in the NHL, especially come playoff time. I think it just makes the games more exciting and kind of gets that passion going a bit more.
Yeah, Clark here, who got the second goal yesterday to put the Trojans up, fires a shot but just goes around, unable to connect it on it there. Clark again with the puck, firing, and he scores! Dylan Clark gets the opening goal here in today's game. Beautiful goal, gets the shot, doesn't get home, gets the pass, then fires it past. That is 2 goals in 2 games for Dylan Clark.
You were talking about Clark before the game started. Yeah, I mean, what a shot there. That's not just putting the puck on net, that was picked. And just a beautiful goal to put the Trojans up 1-0.
Yeah, that's one of those things where, that's one of those goals where only he knew where that was going. And we have a 1-0 game here to open up, which obviously this is really, really good momentum for the Trojans. Falgaris loses the puck there a little bit. Halterman, just not able to connect it.
Great bad check there from Sidaway, breaking up that 2-on-1.
Yeah, really good opportunity. There's Cox going in with a shot, just gets bounced around there. But yeah, going back to Dylan Clark, obviously very good player in the AJHL last year. Obviously, we've seen players, for instance, like Cale McCarr come out of that league. And you know what? He put up 58 points in 58 games. So for the Trojans this year, they are definitely looking towards him at being a big-time point getter for this team moving forward.
For sure. I mean, the skills on display right there, right? Had a goal yesterday, and then that one, just a beautiful shot. There's not too many guys in this league that can put a puck up there like he did and that quick.
Yeah, and usually when the commentators start talking about a particular player like that, they start to cool off a little bit, but I guess he heard us talking and said, no, I'm just going to put a goal right in front of you guys just to, break that commentator's curse, which is something that we like. There we see Shivs moving around, taking a shot, just going around, not able to connect there. Obviously, Portage let in that opening goal. They've had 12 shots taken against them so far. As a goaltender, with not even 15 minutes gone in the game, you already have 12 shots against you. What would be your thoughts in this moment?
Well, it's not so much the 12 shots against, I think, as it is the 4 shots against on Welke. We kind of talked about earlier, it's nice to get some shots as a goalie to get in the groove. Obviously, at a certain point, you'll start getting tired, but with Welke right now, he's looked a little shaky on a few of these. He hasn't had many shots to really get himself into the game, so it'll be interesting to see if Portage is able to get some more pucks on net if they're starting to find any success. Yeah, and obviously Welke, this is his first game in the ACAC, going back, having a nice successful junior career. Yeah, you got to think nerves are in it as well, right? Playing his first game for his new team here. Yeah, and the fact that he's also getting to play with his brothers, so that if Spencer Welke lets in maybe a couple of bad goals, he's definitely going to hear from his brothers. And obviously, brother rivalry there, the amount of competitiveness, they'll definitely be giving it to him. But he would love to put a shutout here today for his team. Battling in the corner here, both Portage and Trojans doing a really good job. No real winner there, but now Portage starting to move out. Moving it around. Spencer Welke behind the net, passing it around to Trentham, who, is normally a forward. I've actually really liked what I've seen from him so far today as a D-man. He's not really allowing a lot of pucks to get past him. He looks comfortable. Well, the thing is, I mean, it's meant to be a good thing. I know sometimes it can sound the other way, but I haven't really noticed him a lot, which is good. Obviously, it means he's not making any mistakes back there. Playing in a position that's not comfortable for him. If you're not noticing a lot, then that says that he's not doing anything egregious out there, which is good news for the Trojans. Yeah, especially off of like a one-day notice when they played yesterday. He was didn't really have the opportunity to practice really much, but maybe that was a situation that earlier in the season. And here we see things getting a little bit heated and temperatures starting to rise. That is indeed Trentham getting a little bit, wonder if we are going to see a penalty marker here, and I think we probably are, with Trentham making his way over, talking a lot of conversations with the ref. We'll see what the official call is. I think they felt that it was a bit of a late hit by Spencer Kennedy there. Yeah, like you said, Trenton wasn't very happy with it.
Yeah, definitely not. You got to stick up for your players there, making sure nothing. But again, refs are letting these boys play. They're not really calling anything. But so far, I think it's been a fairly clean, entertaining game. That's exactly what you like to see. Only one penalty so far in today's game. Adams, taking an interesting hit there from Gernstein. Trojans able to come in. Alex Moore passes it to Jenkins, who then gets it to Trentham, moving up. He's looking for a way in. Just gets bounced off by number 19, Tyler Bork there. Did a really good job at making sure the Trojans couldn't enter. Now he has another golden opportunity after the interception from his teammate, firing it on Spencer Welke. Good save there.
There's a good save from Welke. That's kind of what he needed after a few kind of shaky ones where he looked like he was losing control of the puck. That was a very confident save, no rebound.
Even if he didn't make the save, I think it would have probably gone over the net, but it's still one of those confidence boosters. Obviously, 5 shots so far, not a lot of work here over the past 15 minutes. But 1-0 game so far here in the first period on ACAC, where we see the SAIT Trojans versus the Portage Voyageurs in game 2 of this kind of weekend battle between them. Trojans able to move it up with Mackenzie Welke. He just dumps it in. He's chasing it. Dangerous situation for Portage with the goalie going out.
So likes to play those pucks in a bit of dangerous situations. You can tell he's quite confident with it.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we saw a lot from last year's goaltender for the SAIT Trojans, Trevor Martin. He was a very active goaltender. Sometimes he got himself a little bit in trouble being a little too active, but it's always having that fine line of doing nothing as a goaltender and letting your D-men do it and being a little too active.
Exactly. I think for the most part, defensemen will accept their goalie making a mistake or two doing that in the long run because it does help them out a lot with breakouts and everything like that. It makes life a lot easier having a goalie that does come out and play the puck like that.
Yeah, so for you, how active of a goaltender were you when the puck came by?
Not as much as I should have been. That definitely wasn't a strength in my game, but I think you see the guys that are really confident with it, like Mike Smith comes to mind in the NHL. It's just you always hear defensemen brave about how much it really helps them out, not having to take that hit, and it's basically just like having a third defenseman back there at times. Yeah,
Mike Smith, obviously one of the premier puck-moving goaltenders in the NHL. Obviously, you can talk about a bunch of different aspects of his game, but that is not really the conversation that we're having for that. But call here on the ice.
The Trojans. I'm not sure who it was that got that.
Taking a look here, Mackenzie Welke talking to the ref.
I believe it was Welke.
Yeah, Mackenzie Welke is making his way over to the box. So we are going to see the first power play opportunity for the Portage Voyageurs. This will be a really good momentum booster if they can get the puck behind Spencer Welke, Mackenzie Welke's brother.
Yeah, big kill here from the Trojans. Obviously, they've had a pretty good first, really outplaying the Voyageurs, so they need to make sure they keep them off the board here and keep that momentum going.
Yeah, I would really like to see Portage here. Make sure that they find space, get those easy passing lanes. Logan Spence moving it around, ultimately getting bumped by McAdoo. Can he keep it in? He barely does. But for Portage, I really want to see them make sure they can find those open lanes, take some of those risky shots. Good save by Spencer Welke there. But if they want to get back in this game, they need to move it around, find clean, open shots for them.
Yeah, for sure. It's that quick puck movement on the power play is the big thing. And so far here, they have moved it around pretty well. It's been a pretty solid first 20 seconds of this power play.
Really has. And you know, obviously, Mackenzie Welke would probably feel really bad if he was the reason that his brother let in his first ACAC goal.
Yeah, obviously, that's a bit of a fun twist here. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, for sure, you never want to be the guy in the box and your team's giving up one. But I guess even more so with your brothers in net. Especially
when we have as tight of a game as what we've had so far. SAIT Trojans out shooting the Portage Voyageurs 12-6 so far in this game. 1-0 lead, so you know Portage would love to put a puck behind the net and tie this game up to make it a little bit more hard moving forward. There we see Maddie moving around. There shoots it to Spence. Good opportunity. That was a good save by Welke. Logan Spence firing it around. He was another good spot for Portage yesterday. Definitely moving around the ice, made a lot of good shooting opportunities, and was definitely noticeable out there. But again, this team yesterday at the end of the third period were just so gassed. They just couldn't have anything going. Interesting to see how they're going to be playing here once they get close to the third period of this game. Obviously having a very good opportunity for Portage, but Welke and Jenkins made sure that that wasn't going to happen. Sidaway with a big hit, and here we see Ziegler with a good opportunity, but just can't quite get it going. Stick keeps getting a little bit messed up between Spence and Sidaway, but that one gets solved. No penalty on the play. I think that was probably the right call.
Yeah, good play by Sidaway to get that puck down too. The Trojans were getting a little tired there, and now they're able to change. Yeah,
this is another good opportunity. If they can get the puck out, they just let it slide a little bit. But you can tell some of these guys are definitely tired. They want to get another clear, which they do. So this is going to be able to get both sides having some fresh legs on the ice. Here we see Chase Felgaris behind here, setting up the D-men, and the SAIT Trojans do a good job at killing off the penalty. So they are 1 for 1 at penalty killing on today's game, and they are perfect so far this season at killing off the penalties.
Yeah, and we've seen Welke since a bit of that shaky start. It seems like the nerves have died down now, and he's really playing a lot more solid. Really, pucks are just sticking to him. There haven't been any rebounds here. A couple good saves on that penalty kill as well.
Yeah, one thing that I've noticed a lot more from yesterday is Portage is playing with a little bit more swag, a little bit more confidence. The shots are much tighter because we are seeing a 12-9 shot differential as opposed to yesterday when we saw that pretty much it was something like 48-20, which is just not the type of shot differential you want to have in a game. That's one thing that we noticed last year with Portage, not a heavy shot team, but so far tonight, they've done a really, really good job. And again, if you keep putting pucks on the net, sooner or later, one's going to go by.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing that just the effort level from them yesterday and today to be able to come out here with the short bench like we've harped on and be able to just keep the games close. I think it says a lot of credit to the team and a lot of credit to the coaching staff as well for really having them ready to go.
Oh, without a doubt. And so far for this Trojans team right now, they've struggled the last couple minutes, not being able to get the puck out of their own zone. And again, they shot it out, but they weren't able to get anything moving on Portage's end. And it just kind of goes in and out, not being able to do much there. But here we see Portage trying to battle behind there. That is Miller who's trying to get the puck but unable to do so. Portage is moving in here. 30 seconds left remaining in the period. Visram has a good opportunity, just bounces off his stick, couldn't get it going. That's something that we saw a lot of yesterday with these bouncing pucks. The beautiful Winsport arena, obviously a lot of ice surface time, or a lot of play time on this ice leads to some bumpy pucks.
For sure,
obviously,
yeah.
there was a game here before, only about the ice only had about 10-15 minutes of relaxing in between each of the floods.
Yeah, a little softer ice. It does cause, like you said, you mentioned it before the game, and pucks are bouncing around quite a bit out here right now.
Yeah,
which again kind of makes it more, puts the emphasis more on playing simple hockey, getting pucks deep, shots on net, not trying to do anything too individualistic.
But yeah, Visram for Portage had a golden opportunity there on that last entry for Portage, but unfortunately he just had one of those weird bounces, and if he didn't have a bounce, I think he probably would have scored there. But that brings us to the end of the first period, where we see the SAIT Trojans won over the Portage Voyageurs 0. Colton, what's your thoughts on the first period?
You know what, I thought overall we've seen the Trojans from the first, I'd say, halfway point, kind of taking it to them, and the Voyageurs, once they got that power play, were really able to kind of turn things around in their favor. Obviously, we see the shots 12-10 right now, so definitely not as one-sided as the game was yesterday, which is credit to them for being able to come out here after a tough game yesterday and just keep their legs and keep playing strong and keep it a competitive game.
Yeah, so far this has been an absolutely beautiful game, but we will see you back. I'm Brendan Donald Fort, Colton Pankey. We will be back here in 15 minutes. Back for some more ACAC hockey here, where we see the SAIT Trojans up 1 over the Portage Voyageurs. Colton, we had a pretty good first period by both teams. One of the things that we looked at for Portage, obviously only coming out with those 14 players, how would they be after a really tough game yesterday? But you know what? They looked really calm. They looked really energized, you know, after playing such a hard game yesterday. But thoughts for SAIT? What's your thoughts for them for that first period?
I thought overall they played a pretty good game. I think they had their feet moving, like they got some good opportunities. Again, we kind of talked about it. It feels like they kind of ran into a hot goaltender once again. I thought as the period went off, they kind of slowed down a bit, and that's what we talked about before, is putting that full 60 minutes together. So I think over the final 2 frames, it's kind of just keeping a consistent effort throughout the entire period. Yeah,
that's definitely something that we're looking for. And obviously, a big change from today's game to yesterday's game is the shots. Trojans massively outshot Portage. Now today, we're looking at a 16-10 shot differential. So Portage is definitely stepping up here, and they are able to win the opening face-off with Coulter going in, taking a nice shot there, going a little bit over the shoulder of Spencer Welke, who, for his first ACAC game, first period, I think he looked pretty good.
I thought he looked really good. Like, again, we talked about it, but a little shaky early on, I think just the nerves, and once he settled down, he was really solid.
Yeah, I definitely had one of those moments. A little bit of a tricky situation there, you know, kind of, I think a little bit of indecisiveness on where he wanted to go with the puck. He needs to get that out a little bit quicker, but ultimately, I don't think anything too dangerous has happened out of it, but Portage in there, Coulter looking for a shot, goes for a shooting lane, and nice save there.
Yeah, like you said on that puck play, I think maybe he would like to get that one off a little quicker. I think he was a little unsure of where to put it, but he's able to make up for it with the good save and no rebound once again.
Yeah, again, something that we always talk about here is rebounds, something goalie coaches hate, something goalies hate, and something that you brought up that I didn't think about is the defenders, obviously, because they have to do that much extra work, which is very tough for them. But good save nonetheless for Spencer Welke, who has put on a really nice performance. Obviously, the SAIT Trojans going into this year, Kenzie Welke coming in, firing shot, bounces right out of Brasso's glove. But for the SAIT Trojans this year, they no longer have their star goaltender from last year, Trevor Martin, and they have 2 freshman goalies. Obviously, upcoming penalty here against Portage, so we're bringing in an extra man here. Going in, that is Cox bringing it around, passes it, and moving it around, Huber. Sheaves passes it. Now we're bringing it to Casey, back to Sheaves. Oh, looks for a shot, but just can't quite get down there. Good opportunity. Now Casey with the puck
from the Trojans.
Yeah, and a really good job of not allowing Portage to get the puck in for a touch there. But now we do have a whistle for a penalty. But going back to what I was saying about the goaltenders, don't have Trevor Martin this year. Bring in 2 first-year goalies in Boston Beluas, and Spencer Welke. So that's a really tough thing to do when you're expecting to have high hopes like the Trojans do this year, to rely on 2 young freshman goaltenders.
Sure, I think at the start of the season, you'll probably see them split 50-50 like this weekend quite a bit until it kind of becomes clear which one is kind of the number one, whichever one's playing, has the hotter play throughout the season. Then maybe later in their year, you'll start to see them kind of ride the hot hand a bit, but early on, I think 50-50 for the majority of the first half of the season.
Yeah, I suspect for probably the first 6 games, you're probably going to see a little bit more split between the 2 goaltenders, but Boston Beluas was so good in the SJHL last year, played 40 games in the regular season, had a 9.2 or 0.928 save percentage and a 2.44 goals against average, and then went into the playoffs, won the SJHL Cup, was the playoffs MVP, and obviously had what was a really, really good regular season. He improved 15 games, was able to win 12 of them, only lost 3, but his save percentage went from 9.28 to 9.3, and then his goals against average went from 2.44 down to 2.
Yeah, I mean, those are incredible numbers, and so obviously the Trojans are hoping that he could bring that same level of play in his first year with them.
Yeah, but then also having another really good goaltender in Spencer Welke, who also did put up some decent numbers last year, obviously not to the same extent as Beluas, but still good nonetheless. Really good couple of shots here for the Trojans.
speaking of goaltenders, there's a couple of other good saves by Rousseau down at that end. He's been really solid to start today's game.
Yeah, obviously letting in that one shot by Dylan Clark, but even only Dylan Clark knew where that was going, and no one was going to be able to stop that. Dylan Clark, very impressive player for the Trojans. They're hoping that they can get a lot of points out of him. Obviously, in these first 2 games, 2 goals, and we're not even, halfway through this hockey game, so potentially see what could potentially happen. But Ziegler passes it to Miller, just can't quite get it going. Back to Ziegler, goes to Jenkins, and a good opportunity, but just bounces out. And good stop there by Ziegler to keep the puck in the zone. Miller has an opportunity. Really just had...
Yeah, I was going to say, they gave him all sorts of room to walk in with that. I think he was a little caught off guard by how much time he had there.
Yeah, one thing that Portage did really well yesterday, and so far to this game, they never really given the Trojans much of a shooting lane. And Miller, I guess, like what you were saying, was just caught off guard because he just walked up there, kind of looked around, was like, I guess I'm just going to shoot the puck if no one's going to come stop me.
Almost had a little bit too much time, it seemed like.
Yeah, a little bit too much time, but that's something that the coaches are definitely going to be talking about, going, we are not giving that much space again, boys. But they're able to kill this penalty off the second time today that they've been able to do it. Good job. And Trojans still trying to apply some pressure here, but Portage is able to bring it back out there. That is Maddie trying to battle in, but the Trojans do an excellent job at keeping the puck out of their own zone. But we do have a penalty coming up, and it appears that that is going to be on Portage's side, but the referees are going to get together, have a little bit of a chat, and see what happens. What did you saw on that play, Cole?
I'm not convinced it's not the Trojans getting this one, which is interesting because Welke was skating to the bench like he thought that they were about to go on the power play, so that could have been a really potentially dangerous situation because Welke was up to about the blue line.
Yeah, Mackenzie Welke back in here for second penalty of today's game, but yeah, like what you're saying, we saw Spencer Welke skating to the bench, which could have been a really weird situation, but Trojans now back on for their second penalty penalty kill of the game. Funny enough, Mackenzie Welke, both of them. Here we see Portage getting set up behind their own net, passing it up. That is Maddie. Passing it all the way across the ice to Spence, bringing it up to Spencer Kennedy. Moving it around, trying to find some open. Gidney passes it up to Spence. No, excuse me, that is Kennedy. Battle here in the corner. Trojans doing a good job at not allowing any free angles, but they're able to get it out. And Cox with a good opportunity on a breakaway, looking for some movement there. And very good opportunity, but just not able to get it home for the Trojans. That was Carson Welke, brother of Mackenzie and Spencer. Again, something that we did say is a possibility in today's game is the ability that we could see Welke to Welke to Welke for the goal.
Yeah, we're still holding out hope for that one. We'll see as it goes on here.
Yeah, and boy, oh boy, would I have an absolute blast calling that, because no, you're not hearing Spencer or Mackenzie Welke passing it to Carson, who then passes it back to Mackenzie. Could be Spencer to Carson to Mackenzie. All sorts of different possibilities.
I think it's a great start to the kill for the Trojans here. They're just over halfway through it. They haven't really given up a lot, and they had that one great play where Cox let it out front there. And a good shorthanded opportunity. I think if they kind of stick with this and are able to kill it, we might be able to see them kind of push the play here a bit.
Yeah, they've been doing a really good job. Very similar to what Portage has done for most of their power plays throughout yesterday and today. Just not allowing any open shooting lanes, which obviously you want to have that very aggressive penalty kill. And they've done a really good job so far today in this game of not allowing, in both of those penalty kills, to not allow Portage to get really any open shots. But good kind of, I guess, save by Tanner Sidaway, just kind of out there, middle of the ice, making the stop, so can't get through. But this is pretty much going to kill off the penalty here. Mackenzie Welke is going to get out of the box here in 5 seconds. I think Portage, at this point, has just kind of looked at it and said, you know what, we're going to allow him to come out and go 5-on-5 and really make sure that we can get set up here on this play. Good situation there for Portage. Oh, they are able to keep that in. That was Dale there, able to keep it in. No, excuse me, that was Vizram actually. Got my numbers mixed up there. Another scrum here in the corner with Trojans being able to come out on top of that. Here we see Clark, who was the only goal scorer of today's game and the goal winner of yesterday's game. Who was just such a really good pickup for this team. Again, had the 58 points in 58 games last year. But here we see Carrier passing to Felgaris. Passing it, oh, a very, very good shot for Sheaves. That man had a lot of really, really good shooting opportunities. Absolute cannon off the defensive end.
Yeah, I mean, he put that by a couple people in front and then got the deflection too. That's a very good shot from the point. Yeah,
he had an opportunity at the end of yesterday's game to get from his own blue line an empty net goal, and it bounced off the post. If you would have put it just a few inches to the left, would have been beautifully into the net. Got himself a well-deserved goal. He had many, many shots yesterday that could have been goal. He had one that was absolutely robbed from him by yesterday's goalie, Najenko. He was so phenomenal yesterday, obviously getting very close to 50 shots, if not 50. But yeah, Brasso definitely played well. Obviously had 20 shots throughout the first, half of this game. But definitely no highlight reel saves so far today. Hasn't really had to make any of those.
No, but he's been solid, right? Like, he stopped all the ones he's had to, and like we keep harping on, but he really hasn't let up any rebounds. Pucks are really sticking to him.
Yeah, which is exactly what you want to see from your goaltenders.
Well, especially when you're short bench too, it gives more whistles. Like, it really helps out all the players on that Voyageurs bench.
It also helps bring the play speed down a little bit.
Sure.
You can obviously calm things down. Here we see Jenkins. Oh, that was very close to being an offside, but did a really good job. Passes it to Miller, who then tries to pass to McAdams, just can't get it by. That was a beautiful play. Here we see Ziegler finding a shot, but gets tipped and goes up into the netting.
Yeah, almost a beautiful play there from the Trojans. A couple of very nice passes. They just lost it in the last second.
Yeah. Obviously, Trojans not massively outshooting Portage today, but only one goal to speak of throughout these two games against Portage. About 60 shots, 3 goals off of that. So it seems like 1 in every 10 shots there, or 1 in, I can't do math at the moment, but they're not having
20.
a really, 1 in 20, thank you. But not a really good ratio for the Trojans at the moment. You definitely hope and think that they are starting to get a little frustrated that they can't put more behind. Obviously against this short bench and tired Portage team.
Yeah,
and it looks like we're going to be on the penalty, or the Trojans are going to be on the penalty. That's Ziegler. He is not happy about that call.
Well, speaking of putting offense up on the board, it's hard to do when they keep taking penalties. They really have to make sure. We kind of harped on it before the game started about staying disciplined.
Yeah, so this is Portage's 3rd opportunity here. See offside. But yeah, so far in this period, first period was very clean by both teams. Only 3 penalties throughout the first. So far in the first 9 minutes of this period, we've again seen 3. So, and 2 have come to SAIT. This could be another good opportunity for Portage to put up the score and put this at a 1-1 game. And obviously, Brasso has done a really good job. Again, another hot goaltender tonight for Portage, doing really good job of keeping the puck out of the net. And with how the Trojans weren't able to really find much success last night getting the puck behind them, goals have been coming in, bunches. They haven't been coming in bunches. They're coming very sporadically. So if you're Portage, you definitely want to try to tie this up and make it that much harder.
Well, yeah, and I mean, with these 2 goaltenders playing how they have last night and today, you have to think it's getting in the Trojans' heads a little bit. So they're definitely getting a little bit frustrated. You can see as they're really just having no luck putting anything by, not for a lack of effort, but just some really hot goaltending.
Yeah, and one thing, obviously, when you're on the power play, what you really don't want to have happen is a puck bouncing out and your D-men can't stop, because then you kind of have to do that skate of shame out and get everything reset. And obviously, when you're the Trojans, you're the defending side there, you love that type of situation, because you can get kind of a bunch of guys up to the line try to make it harder for the opposing team to come in. Mackenzie Welke with the puck and just fires it at the net. And you know what? Not really a difficult save for Brasso, but with this ice surface, something that we've talked about the last couple days, very bouncy, and it can get challenging at time with those bouncy pucks. Portage with the puck going around, battling in the corner. Good opportunity there. There's, ooh, nice shot there by Gidney. Good save. Carson Welke and Maddie having a few exchange of words there on the play.
Good save by Welke, who hasn't really been tested a ton on this latest penalty kill, but he's looked really solid again to start the second period.
Yeah, and obviously coming out, again, he hasn't really had a whole lot of shots so far this period, only having the 2 so far in the first 10 minutes of this frame. But obviously, period to period, Colton being a goaltender for quite a bit of your hockey career, each period you kind of need that first shot to kind of get yourself reset.
I mean, I think sitting around for too long, like this one's already the midway point, it can start to get a little long, but I think the biggest one is that first shot, the first period, to really kind of get yourself set, and then it gets better. It's easier after that, but having said that, like you said, it's only 2 shots so far in the second, so it does get a little tough to get adjusted to the game, but I think the score being 1-0 as well will help with that. Yeah,
and definitely with this game being as close as it is, you know, if you're Spencer Welke, first game in the ACAC, you really don't want to give that tying goal away, because then with how close it is, you know, it hurts. It hurts a lot, and you really don't want to have that. So a little bit that pressure going on. And again, if you're not really getting those shots, you know, you could get a little cold.
And the pressure of knowing too that your teammates are having trouble putting up goals on the board. If he gives up 1 or 2, that might be as many as the Voyageurs need.
Yeah, with goals not coming a lot tonight, it is one of those things you'd love to see more. Williams tried to bring it in there, but ultimately not able to get anything done. Firing it in, but just can't quite get it there. Nice little battle in the corner for both squads. Looks like Trojans are able to get a good opportunity there. Moore skating it up. Williamson trying to make it through, but he's going to have to battle. He's able to get that done. McAdoo able to get something going, but oh, very good shot for Huber. Battle in front, and oh my, oh my. Colton, I don't know how that puck did not go into the back of the net.
See, Williamson is very frustrated with himself. He had that puck come off the boards, he just didn't seem to be ready for it, wasn't able to get a clear shot off, and then somehow Brosseau, as he was laying on his back on the ice, was able to keep that out.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say that's a highlight reel save. That's really, really good stout defense by Portage to make sure that that couldn't go in. But yeah, Dylan Williamson is kicking himself that he couldn't put that basically into a wide open net. And Trojans, again, yesterday we should have really been looking at that game more of a 4-1. Obviously, Najenko just had some absolute robberies from the Trojans yesterday, especially against that one with Carson Welke. But yeah, that's another one that probably should have gone in. But Dylan Clark right now, our only goal scorer of today's game, got the winning goal yesterday, taking a shot, but just goes a little bit wide. Portage trying to get the puck out of their own zone and, you know, calm the play down a little bit, try to move it more in. Dale trying to get it in for Portage, but ultimately we see an icing call here. What do you think Portage needs to do, Colton, to put one past Spencer Welke?
Well, I think after like that last opportunity there, where they're kind of lucky to not be down 2-0, they need to do everything they can to really get the red line, get pucks deep in behind the Trojans net, just kind of work from down there, start down low, and again, like we talked about, just get as many shots on net as they can.
Yeah, obviously, you can definitely start to see the fatigue start to come in a little bit more now, but again, when you only have 14 players, and unfortunately for Portage, 4 players injured on their roster right now, that is not something that you really, really like to see.
Well, and having said that, they're playing system-wise pretty strong too. You always see they have 2 forwards. Whenever the Trojans are coming out with the puck from their own end, they always have 2 forwards waiting way back. It's almost kind of like a trap system, which has to be frustrating for SAIT too, because it's kind of, it doesn't open up things for them.
Yeah, that is definitely frustrating. Portage doing a good job. And again, kind of like what we're seeing today, not as much so as yesterday, but a lot of a really good battle situation. Dale batting away at, or excuse me, that was Spencer Kennedy batting away at Spencer Welke's pad there. Gets taken down by Ziegler,
was a great save from Welke after he ended up himself putting the puck right on a Voyageurs player's stick. Almost gave him an empty net, but was able to slide back and get a pad on it.
Yeah, Logan Spence passing it over to Nick Gidney, being able to move that up for Spencer Kennedy. Looking for any movement that he can. They're trying to find some people open there. Trojans trying to get it out, but Portage doing a fairly good job at keeping it in, but Mackenzie Welke is able to bring that out, causing change. Passes that up to Ziegler, who then passes it up to Huber. He's looking for a shot. He was so dangerous last year, led the team in scoring with 9 goals, but unable to find something there. Trentham, who's normally a forward for the SAIT Trojans, playing the defensive side of things, but here Maddie tries to bring it in, just not able to get it. Portage able to bring it in. Coulter just fires it in, keeping it in the Trojan zone. Kenzie Welke trying to battle it out here, getting bounced around behind the net. Back on the puck, or back onto the stick of Welke. Now Carson Welke's trying to get it. Huber trying to get back over. Again, 9 goals for Huber last year, trying to find something, can't get it done. Trentham fires it, dangerous situation. Wicked slap shot from Huber. Very good couple of saves from Brosseau here in this last 10 seconds.
Yeah, Huber came out on that shift just on a mission. He was absolutely flying around the ice, had a couple great opportunities. If he's able to keep that going, he might get himself on the board soon.
Yeah, obviously Colton Huber, goaltender, but spending a lot of time with hockey players, you know, on your team. That first line, when they've struggled to put points together and look really consistent, obviously they had so much success last year. Throughout, you know, the first game yesterday, not being able to put anything up on the board, and through 35 minutes of this game, again, not being able to do anything. What do you think is kind of the feeling between those guys right now? Is it frustration? Is it kind of just trying to figure out the way to get it up? Like, what do you think is going through their minds right now?
I think there's certainly some frustration there, but at the same time, like, they're a confident group. I think they know it. Like, they have the coaching staff to reassure them to it. Things will turn around for them. It'll get going. It's still very early into the season, so still kind of getting the feel for it and get like working back into just gameplay. But I think a few more games in, like, they'll have no problem getting back to where they were last season.
Yeah, it's definitely trying to get that monkey off the back, but once you do, then it's going to start to open up. But here we see Dylan Clark, the only goal scorer of today's game, tries to make some moves, but just can't get anything going. Had an opportunity there to get it. Ooh, that it has to be frustrating for SAIT. Casey trying to go for it, but just not able to get the puck there. But here we see Cox rolling in. He's looking for a shot, and right into the chest. Good job by Brosseau to make sure no rebound came out of it.
You know, it's a good play by Cox there. He does that little drag before he shoots it. It kind of uses the defenseman, the Voyageurs defenseman, as a screen, but Brosseau obviously was able to pick it up regardless and doesn't let out a rebound once again.
Yeah, and that little drag, it can be so dangerous because you don't know as a defender really what's going to happen. Is he going to shoot or is he going to give a pass behind? It's kind of hard to read, but
the thing about it too is it completely changes the angle of the shot from the goaltender. It pulls it in a bit more, so it makes things a lot more difficult. You see a guy in the NHL like Austin Matthews is a great example, does that all the time, and it just changes the angle that little bit, which can make a huge difference as a goaltender.
Yeah, and you know, future #1 overall pick Connor Bedard, that is another guy that you see all the time with that, and at such a young age, and you're seeing players younger and younger now with the ability to kind of do that. Good couple of saves here, bouncing right in front of the net. Trojans aren't able to pick that one up. Portage back on the forecheck. Going in there is Dale trying to find some opportunity. Puck right in front of Spencer Welke. Could have been a dangerous situation, but luckily Ziegler was there to kind of clean things up. Ooh, Dylan Clark had another opportunity. Here's McAdoo looking for it, skating around. Finds Ziegler, shoots it, and they score! That is Brandon McAdoo getting the second goal for the SAIT Trojans here in today's game off of a beautiful shot from Ziegler at the point.
Yeah, you know, just had traffic in front. Like, you got to make life difficult on Brosseau after how he's played so far. Not really able to see that. You know, you can kind of feel that one coming. It feels like these last 5 minutes or so, the Trojans have really elevated their play.
Yeah, they really have. And again, we've talked so much about when you have a hot goaltender, sometimes you just have to get those dirty, greasy goals, and player up in front of the net just gets a tip, goes right past the goaltender. You know, again, not really one that you're super proud of as a player, but you know what? You're going to take that any day of the week.
For sure. And like you talked about earlier, getting the monkey out the back kind of thing. You wonder if that's the type of goal that's able to do it here. It'll be interesting to see in the next 5 to 10 minutes if they kind of put up a few more.
Yeah, and you can definitely start to see a little bit. So, correction, that goal actually was scored by Zach Ziegler. No tip was made, but still.
The net front presence, though.
Yeah.
You know, like that, it just makes life so much so difficult under slow. Because yeah, you could see by his reaction as soon as it went in, he didn't see it as soon as it was shot.
Yeah, and for Zach Ziegler, who's been a very, very good defender for the SAIT Trojans so far this year, throughout these first 2 games, beautiful shot there from the point. You know he's got to be happy to get that. And for that #1 defensive unit, it's good to put a point up on the board. Obviously, hasn't been able to get much from your #1 line on the offense, but good to see that defense add some points to it.
And you know, it's a good showing too that it doesn't always have to be the hardest, like booming slap shots from the point, right? That was just a good wrist shot that he's able to snake through and puts the Trojans up 2-0.
Yeah, McAdams there with another really good opportunity. Trenton passes it into McAdams, going behind the net. A little bit of a battle there. And feels like we have a penalty coming up here. Looks like a cross check.
Trojans yet again.
Yeah, you can see Trenton here is not happy here. Jenkins coming to the bench. So now this is the 4th penalty for the SAIT Trojans here today. Again, Trojans last year were the #1 penalized team in the ACAC. Yesterday, they did a pretty good job at staying out of the box. Today, a little bit less so. You know, first period, it felt like the refs were allowing these guys to play. So far through this period, it feels like they've tightened things up and a little bit less so at the moment.
Yeah, I think a little bit, but at the same time, like we talked about before, like the Trojans just need to kind of stay out of that stuff, especially on days like today where the offense isn't coming the way they'd like it to. Like you don't want to give the Voyageurs any chance to get back into the game, and that's kind of what they're doing with all these penalties.
Yeah, and right now the Trojans hold the pretty much what we consider the most dangerous lead in hockey, because being up 2, you would think you're safe, but a team could get a goal and then really add the momentum. Looks like we have another penalty coming up here.
Trojans again.
This time it's looking like it's going to be Carson Welke, or excuse me, that is going to be Keegan Casey joining the box. So it's going to be 3.5 minutes of power play for the Portage Voyageurs and a 5-on-3. So if you want to talk about a situation to put your team back and get some momentum, this is the time to do it. Really test out freshman goaltender Spencer Welke and really see what they're going to do. But you know, Carson and Mackenzie, both out there right now, are really going to try hard to help out their brother and make sure he doesn't get scored on. But we see Trenton also out there, who normally plays forward but playing defense tonight. But Colton, for this 5-on-3, what are you really looking for in Portage's game to get that puck past Welke?
Well, it's one of those things when you have this much time, especially, you really don't want to force things, you don't want to rush things. Like, you have lots of time to set plays up. You really want to try and work it back to this point plan here in the middle and kind of have him shoot the traffic in front, but just really not to rush things. Like, they still have a minute left in the first one here, so there's still plenty of time. And like you had said, if there is any hope of them getting back into this game, they really need to find a way to convert here.
Yeah, again, you don't need to be rushed in this situation, but with each minute going by, especially now that the game is currently 2-0, you really do feel like for Portage that with each minute that gets lost, it just gets harder and harder and harder. So you're not trying to rush, especially on this 5-on-3, but you're definitely wanting to try to get something in there. Trojans, Gidney passes it. Looking for some open space. Gidney back with the puck, looking for a screen. Can't quite get anything moving. Oh, good save. Ty Buddha with the shot there from a weird angle.
See, that's what we were just talking about too. Like, you're better off to try and set that one up a little bit more than force it from there. We've seen Welke make several saves already tonight. You know you're not going to beat him from that angle, but two-man advantage, you have so much more time to move that puck around and get a better angle shot.
Yeah, definitely. When you have a 5-on-3, you're going to take any opportunity that you can, but you definitely got to make sure that you're choosing those shots wisely. You have 2 extra men on the ice. You definitely want to find those angles and not rush anything. That was another good shot there by Portage, by Logan Spence. That is the first penalty by Brandon Jenkins, is now out of the box. We have 25 seconds left remaining here. so far throughout this 5-on-3, and then the subsequent 5-on-4 that we've seen back-to-back, Portage really hasn't put enough pressure on. They haven't finding those open angles. Logan Spence with a shot but gets blocked. They just haven't been able. The Trojans doing a great job defensively, not allowing them to get those clean angles.
Haven't generated nearly enough opportunities. I believe they've only had 2 shots so far, and this team advantage, which is about it.
Yeah, so far throughout this period, obviously Portage came in with 10 shots to the Trojans 20. Now we're seeing the Trojans outshoot Portage 29-18. So definitely getting a little bit more in the opportunities for the Trojans. Casey, 1 second remaining here in the penalty. He's going to become flying out of the box here. And here he goes out. So we are back to 5-on-5 hockey. Unfortunately for Portage, not really getting any super chances at a goal there. Definitely has to be frustrating for their bench, knowing that they had that golden opportunity of essentially 4.5 minutes of a man down for the Trojans, and they weren't able to get anything moving.
Especially in a game like this where it is still close. Having said that, we've seen a lot of resilience from this team over the past day, 24 hours. So any team coming back from this still, they can.
Oh, totally agree. But you know, when you're this tired, those types of penalties or those types of situations where you have a 5-on-3, it just gives you so much more juice and you start to feel energized. But if you don't get anything going, it almost feels like the energy that you used, that you felt you gained, you lost double the amount by not being able to score on that situation. With 15 seconds remaining here in the first period, Portage skating it up in the zone, trying to get something moving here. Not really doing anything there. We're getting close to the end of the second period here, where we see the SAIT Trojans 2 over the Portage Voyageurs nothing. Definitely another really good period by both of the squads. Obviously, you're starting to see Portage definitely get a little bit weaker in the legs. You can tell that they're getting tired. Obviously, only 14 guys making the trip down here to Calgary, and 2 games in less than 24 hours is a really tricky situation to have happen. But what's your thoughts so far in the second period?
Second period went on, you can see that exhaustion in the boys was creeping. They're kind of making mistakes we didn't see from them in the first period or most of yesterday. So it'll be interesting to see if they have anything else to take in the third.
Yeah, well, we will be back here in 15 minutes. I'm Brendan, this is Colton. We'll see you here shortly. Welcome back, everybody, to some more ACAC hockey, where we see these SAIT Trojans up 2 over the Portage Voyageurs nothing. Going into this third period here, we see the SAIT Trojans out shooting Portage 30-21. Colton, what has your thoughts been so far with this game?
We talked about it right in the second there, but I think the change from the first and second for the Voyageurs just kind of looked like we thought before the game that their legs just weren't quite under them as much. So again, it'll be curious to see in the third period if they're able to kind of pull out that last little bit of energy they have and get this game close. But I mean, credit to them, the 14 skaters, to be down just 2-1 yesterday and to be down to 2-1 today is a lot of credit to them.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. To only have 14 players here and to play 2 really tough games in the last 24 hours is not something that should be taken lightly. Like, these Portage Voyageurs have done an excellent job, and the fact that over, you know, the 2 periods today and the 3 periods yesterday, they've only managed to allow 4 goals over that time, while being outshot and outmanned is incredibly impressive. They have looked good today. Again, you're starting to see some of the fatigue. Wondering about when we get closer to the end, how they're going to do. Dylan Clark coming in, first shot of the period. Again, Dylan Clark opened up the score for us today. Really impressive player. Someone who I noted yesterday that I want to see how he's going to do in this league, and is doing a phenomenal job. 2 goals in 2 games. Yeah. So, Colton, for you, what does Portage need to do in this third period to either just keep it close and just have an overall successful game, or to potentially even win this?
Well, that's the thing. If they want to keep it close, I would say do what they're doing, which is kind of almost more of that trap style hockey. They're really keeping 2 goals back. But if they have any hope of getting close or evening up the score, they need to really start taking some more chances, take a few risks, which obviously would go back the other way if they don't pay off. But I think at this point, if they want to win the game, they have to try and open things up a little bit more.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. You know, sometimes when you're in this scenario, you just haven't been able to put something past a goaltender who is hot in, you know, Spencer Welke. Hasn't had to make the most aggressive amounts of saves and make any, like, oh my goodness, jaw-dropping saves. But he's had to do a couple of tough shots. And you know what? He's done very well for his first ACAC hockey game.
Sure, and like at times, especially when he's there, and a few times in the second, it hasn't always been pretty, but he's got a goose egg on the board right now, so that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, you're definitely really happy to see something like that from a first-time goaltender, and you're always going to be really happy when, obviously, Spencer Welke has 2 other brothers on this team, and you know what? They're definitely going to be, obviously have that competitive brother spirit. You know, for him, he definitely is going to try to have a shutout here, look at his brothers and say, hey, you know what? I'm just as good as you guys. You're just on the forward portion of it.
Speaking of him there, that's a pretty good save. No, great scoring opportunity, but just snap up against the post and gives really no room.
Yeah, it is definitely a situation there where you like seeing what you're seeing. A little bit of extracurricular activity there. Not something that we really like to see. Second period, a lot more penalties than what we saw in the first. First period was really clean. But
Bigger scene there from Welke is Spencer Kennedy was in a low, had a great chance, but had no room again.
yeah, Spencer Welke obviously spent last year some time with the Camrose Kodiaks. You know, had a pretty decent year. You know, 3.2 or 3.32 goals against average and a save percentage of .89. So not necessarily what you would say elite numbers, but still decent. But obviously was drafted into the, or played sometime in the NHL with the Regina Pats for the past 3 seasons. Didn't get a whole lot of playing time there. Only managed to get 8 total games over the 3 years. But you know what? To still be in the WHL and to play and get that experience is really good to have. Yeah, Brasso on the other side has also had to have himself a pretty tough game. Granted, he does have those 2 goals against him, but then again, he's also had 32 shots on him with less than pretty much 42 minutes so far in this game. And for Portage, with the way things have gone, I could see them allowing another 40-plus shot game today, which, you know, that is a tough situation to have happen. And we have a penalty coming up here. So kind of starting off where we ended with the last period where we saw a bunch of penalties. Now kind of looks like both teams are starting to get a little bit more undisciplined here. Portage coming to the box. So we're going to get to see these SAIT Trojans back on the power play. This has to be absolutely deflating for Portage because obviously very, very tired. And when you have a short bench, one of the things that you don't want to do is get a penalty, because that means it's going to be harder for you guys to get quick, easy changes, which is something that they've done a fairly good job at both yesterday and today.
Yeah, I think going short-handed, obviously, with the short bench they have, can be really tiresome. And just with this Trojans power play, too, they're really good at keeping pressure, which really tires the penalty killers and their goaltender out.
Yeah, and one thing that I like a lot about this Trojans power play is they're able to, they don't rush things. They try to keep it nice and controlled. They take the opportunities when they're given. Obviously, they got those 2 power play goals yesterday, which was big for them. They were the only time they got goals yesterday, as opposed to today, where they've gotten those 2 5-on-5 goals. But for them, this would be a really good opportunity to just continue putting their lead up. That was an excellent shot by Shivs there. And again, a lot of shots yesterday, had that opportunity for an empty netter. Takes another good shot. Brasso with a nice glove save.
We were just talking about this power play hustle. That shot there. I'd like to see someone in front of the net because that's just a very easy save from Brasso. No one in front, he's going to make that save all day.
Yeah, again, that shot kind of felt more of the, I'm going to test the goaltender, put something on net, hopefully potentially get like a rebound out there. If, Brasso didn't make the catch, it was going to miss the net, so... But it's still nice to try to get those rebounds, try to get some of those greasy goals, which obviously their second goal of the game, which came by Ziegler, that was definitely more of a greasy goal, but Clark's goal to open up the scoring today, that was just a thing of beauty, and I don't know how many goaltenders in this league would have been able to save it.
Yeah, very few. I mean, he picked that corner just with great precision, and I think that was kind of right not long after we were saying how big of a fan of his game you were. Yeah, he's looked excellent tonight.
Yeah, here we see McAdams passing it to Jenkins. One thing that I've noticed about Jenkins over these last 2 games, he kind of likes to play that role of getting a little bit in those dirty, greasy angles. Another good shot there by McAdams, but Jenkins likes to kind of play close to that net. Very similar from what I've seen to kind of like a Matthew Tkachuk, getting in those greasy areas, being a little bit of a pest up there. And you know what? He's been effective there. Hasn't been able to put anything up on the score sheet for those 2 games, but you know what? It's nice to have one of those types of guys.
For sure, and like guys like that, that just brings it, puts in his best effort every single game. Like you said, hasn't come from the yet, but if he keeps playing like this, it's going to come sooner than later.
But yeah, so far 4 seconds remaining here in this penalty. Portage does a really good job, but just unfortunately, another man enters the box. That is number 14. Gavin Matty. That's the second penalty of today's game. And if you're Portage being down 5-on-3, granted it's only for 4 seconds, but having 4 minutes straight of 5-on-4 is not something that you have to be a fan of.
We talked about the exhaustion of this group in a second. You can start to see the frustration creep in people in terms of discipline, but on the bench as well. They're really starting to get a bit frustrated here with the lack of offense.
Yeah, and obviously this takes a lot of time, and obviously when the Trojans do a really good job of keeping the puck in the zone, we don't see that right now. That's a good outage by Portage, but it really drains you a lot. And, SAIT doesn't need to score on these power plays. This is definitely one for them where they feel really good. Have a little bit of a battle here where Hartman tries to get it, but is unable to beat McAdoo, who got what we thought initially was the second goal of the game, but it was brought to our attention that it was Ziegler by our wonderful PA announcer, Christian. But yeah, so far they've done a pretty good job. I don't think SAIT is necessarily trying to force anything. They're not really, it doesn't feel like they're looking at this going, we need to score here, we need to score, like it was, for instance, when they only had a 1-goal lead.
No, exactly. It's more about the safe hockey at this point, and it's just killing time off the clock, like you said.
Yeah, and now with 15 minutes remaining here in this third period and remaining in this hockey game, it's one of those things where we talked about it a little bit later in the second period, with each second and each minute that goes off the clock, it just makes it that much harder for Portage to get back into this game.
Great save from Brousseau there once again.
Yeah, Dylan Clark had another excellent shot opportunity with it was just a rocket there. He has a beautiful shot by Dylan Clark. Huber coming in, looking for his partners there. Huber part of that number 1 line last year with the Welke brothers, where they led the team in scoring. Unable to find anything so far through these 2 games. You definitely know that they want to be able to get that. But Portage does an amazing job and killing off both of those 5-on-4s.
Yeah, you know what? Credit to them. Their effort level has been outstanding.
Yeah, without a doubt it has. Just, again, 14 players, 2 games in less than 24 hours. They're not at home, obviously in a different city, making a long drive from Portage all the way to Calgary. It's a tough situation all around. And you're just seeing the heart from these guys, and that's what you love to see.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, yesterday's game and today's, really, they've kind of had every reason to just throw in the towel, and they haven't. They keep coming back, and you know what? They're not out of this game by any means. Like, there's still plenty of time to put 2 up on the board.
Yeah, at any point, with how good Spencer Welke has played today, 1 goal could get him rattled, and then it could just be the floodgates of just goals going in after and after and after. But you know what? Portage, they need to get that opening goal if they want to consider even going here. Williamson trying to make moves, trying to take on a 3-on-1 there, but you know what? Might as well try something when you have the lead. Trojans able to get the puck, keeping it bouncing in. That was a good job by Casey to keep it in, but unfortunately, Trojans get pickpocketed there, but they are able to keep it out. And here we see Miller with Sid away, fires it, but just can't get it home. Another great goal opportunity. SAIT Trojans up 3-0. Initially, I didn't even see that puck go in. I was just going to say Brasso made a nice save, but that goal goes in, and that is Dylan Williamson with the score.
Yeah, you know what? I think that was one that just popped off those backboards behind Brasso pretty quick, and he wasn't able to track it right away, and yeah, Trojans convert, and 3-0 now. You'd like to think that they're able to hold on to this one, but again, still plenty of time, so we'll see.
Yeah, Dylan Williamson playing with Zach Cox, kind of in that second line. Beautiful. Obviously, that's kind of one of those goals when you have a hot goaltender throughout the first 2 periods. You kind of need those greasy goals, and unfortunately for Rousseau, 35 shots over the course of this game with just a little 38 shots in essentially 48 minutes of play. He's allowed 3 goals, but can you really blame him in that aspect?
No, not at all. I don't think any of the goals have really been on him either. Like I said, that one was just a bit of a weird bounce, and I think without him, you can make the case that this could be a 4 or 5 goal lead for the Trojans.
I would have to agree with you. You know, Najenko yesterday, again, you were looking at him definitely saying for Portage, easily the player of the game just because of the jaw-dropping saves that he made. Najenko, without a doubt, kept that a 2-1 game when it really should have been a 4-0 or 4-1. Rousseau also been doing a good job, but maybe not having that same level of success. But again, like what we said, these Portage players are starting to get tired. You can definitely see it. They're not skating as fast, a little bit less energy. Good opportunity for McAdoo firing it around, but yeah, with those 14 players, when we know we've talked about it quite a bit today, but it has definitely been the game changer here in this mini series of the 2.
Yeah, and like we said, in the second period and even now, you can kind of just feel it. The Trojans have really kind of started taking it to him over the last half the game here.
And you know what? With the Trojans, they're not really going to the point of where they're trying to over-aggressively play like if they were down. They're controlling the play. They're not making it to the point of like we have to score. They're just taking the opportunities that are given to them. They're moving around. They're playing smart hockey. And that's exactly what you love to see. Dylan Clark, not really a great movement there. He got pickpocketed there by Ty Buddha. A little bit of frustration there, obviously, in the neutral zone, allowing that puck to go. Shivs shoots it, but can't get it past. Good save by Brasso. But yeah, another good opportunity, and dangerous opportunity, almost a wraparound situation for Dylan Clark. He was looking for his second of today's game. Goes to Shivs, bouncing, just can't go in.
The Voyageurs just look out of sorts here. They need a whistle to get a change.
Yeah, they really do. Casey did a good job of keeping it in, but unfortunately it just goes around. That's something as a D-man you hate to see when you work so hard to keep the puck in, you pass it around, and then it just goes all the way around the other side. D-men, they do not like that because, again, you have to do that skate of shame backwards. Portage getting set up here, trying to make something happen. Unfortunately for Matty, just unable to connect on his stick there. But in the zone, that is Spencer Kennedy taking a big shot there, but just can't get it by anyone. Huber going really aggressive there, but not able to get anything. Spencer Kennedy fighting for the puck with Trentham. Those are 2 big boys fighting with each other. Obviously, Mackenzie Welke there trying to help out, trying to get out, not allowing any pressure to go onto his younger brother, Spencer Welke. Carson Welke passes it back up to McKenzie. Again, something that we've said that is a possibility for us to see tonight is Spencer Welke passes it to either McKenzie or Carson, and they pass it to another brother. Boy, oh boy, that would be quite the situation to have happen.
Oh, we still got about 9 minutes left here for it to. We'll see.
Yeah, something that obviously when we initially saw the opening lineups, we looked at that as a possibility, and we were kind of hoping for the first time we were able to see this matchup happen. But you got to be just so thrilled with how Spencer Welke has played, obviously in his opening for the ACAC League, playing a few years in the WHL, then going into the AJHL last year. Actually split time between Regina and Camrose, but nice little tandem for SAIT.
For sure. I mean, yeah, like we said, they haven't gotten a ton of credit these past 2 games just because it's been Trojans out dominating on the shots on net. But both have played really well, especially Welke today. He's made all the saves he's had to, hasn't let out a ton of rebounds, and yeah, he's just looking more and more confident as this game's gone on.
And I think the big saves that Welke has had to make, there hasn't really been anything of the sorts. Whistle here, looks like Trojans are going to be taking a penalty here. That is Dylan Williamson, the last goal scorer for the team. But going back to what I was saying with Welke, obviously he hasn't had to make any ridiculously difficult saves, but he's just making all the saves that he has to. He's not giving away those ridiculous rebounds, and he's just looked calm and collective. Obviously those first 10 minutes in the game, you can see a little bit of the jitters, but he's done well.
Well, you know what? This will be a big test for him, too. This is kind of the Voyageurs' last chance to get into this game. If they have any opportunity here, they need to convert on this power play. So this will be a big test for the Trojans and Welke to keep
we
him off
can
the board.
definitely see that Dylan Williamson is not happy about that call. I think you and I are both a little bit confused when the whistle came because Trojans were just behind their net trying to get things set up, and then out of nowhere, penalty is called. But yeah, like what you're saying, this is a big opportunity for Portage to build a little bit momentum and potentially try to get themselves back into this game. Logan Spence passes it to Gavin Matty, brings it across back to Gidney. Oh, a good opportunity, bouncing puck! And I don't know how that one didn't get into the net.
Well, you know, we talked about there hasn't been any of those highlight reel saves for Welke yet, but right there, that's arguably, well, not arguably, that's without a doubt his best of the night.
Without a doubt, might be the best save so far in this game. But here we see Spencer Kennedy just kind of sneaking behind the D-men and almost had an opportunity for a breakaway there.
And he is not happy with that icing call at all.
He is not. So obviously we look at the SAIT Trojans here tonight. Won yesterday's game. Looks like they're it looks like they have the opportunity to take away tonight's game. You know, commentators curse, knock on wood, hopefully that doesn't happen. But they just look so consistent here tonight. And this is the type of play, obviously, one thing that we talked about in the opening part of this broadcast today, Trojans last year, #1 penalized team in the ACAC. Definitely not as many penalties in this league or in today's game like what we saw last year, but they're still in the box quite a bit.
Yeah, I think that's one thing moving forward they will look to clean up. In the second period especially, they took a couple undisciplined ones.
That was a beautiful, oh my goodness, what a save by Brasseau. Oh my goodness, I do not know how he saved that. That was a wide open net. And we have a penalty coming to Portage, rightfully so at the end of that. What a save. Talk about Brasseau not having a highlight reel save throughout this game. There we go. I think that's probably the best save of the night.
Yeah, that was absolutely incredible. You know, he's been battling back there all night and is giving his team everything he has. Look for that save perhaps to maybe spark a bit of momentum into the Voyageurs. However, like you said, it does look like they're getting a penalty here, but if they needed any sort of momentum, that save just might do it.
Yeah, unfortunately for Portage, cooler heads could not prevail there, and after that nice save, the boys got a little bit heated, and it looks like they're going to be down 2 men there.
Yeah, now they're on the kill.
So a little 4-on-3 hockey here for the next 53 seconds. Again, this is not what Portage wants. Obviously, they've been battling this last period. You know that they're tired. And you can't really say anything towards for SAIT. Obviously, they have more players. They have a bit more juice in their tank. But what you really don't want to see is for Portage to have those negative plays. That's ultimately just going to hurt them because, you know, for instance, if SAIT ends up scoring the goal here, you're going to see 3-0, but it was unnecessary with that. Those penalties definitely hurt them. Another good save by Brasso there.
No, and those are always the tougher ones to kill, too. The hardworking ones are ones that, you know, the team is really rallying to kill, but those ones are a bit more difficult.
Yeah. Kenzie Welke here, firing it. Huber not able to get anything going. As soon as the penalty ends, Williamson gets out of the box, and so we have a 5-on-3, which has to be ever so devastating for Portage to see here. Sheaves looking, passes it to Welke, gets it up to his brother, Mackenzie. Mackenzie skating around, looking for a passing opportunity, finds his brother Carson. He's skating around looking for a shot, just gets tipped right at the point of shot. Can't get anything going, and Mackenzie having to make a dive, and the Trojans score! Again, one of those situations where some nasty rebounds are happening, and the SAIT Trojans take full advantage of it, and that is Dylan Schneeves with the goal.
Yeah, you know, credit for them for sticking with it there, as Brasso made a huge save just seconds before that puck went in.
You know, for Brasso, he has to be frustrated with it because he had to make a ridiculous save there, and unfortunately, his own teammates couldn't give him enough help there. And obviously, Colton, longtime goaltender, when you make a ridiculous save and, you know, the puck goes back behind your net, has to be frustrating.
Well, and I think the even more frustrating part is just kind of the not staying out of the box right here. You know, down 3-0 late already. The game's really turned in the Trojans' favor, and
yeah, we see another goal here. This time, that's by Zach Cox. That one was just wide open, and we are now starting to see this game start to get a little bit out of hand here. Right now, SAIT Trojans doing exactly what they need to do. When they do get some penalties, they're staying disciplined, they're making it difficult. Portage, after that brilliant save by Brasso earlier, getting the 2 penalties, both have now come back to bite them.
Yeah, and I mean, you'd said earlier that if they got a couple more on the board, the floodgates might start to open. It looks like that's what we're finally seeing here. This team just has no energy left after a good, hard-fought couple games.
Yeah, so here we see with 5 minutes left here in this hockey game, SAIT Trojans out shooting Portage 39-26, 5-0 game. Going into this third period, obviously down 2-0, you looked at Portage and said, you know what, there's still a lot of positives to take out of this game. These last few minutes, I think some of those positives are starting to get less and less.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly looks that way. I think if what you do as a coaching staff at least is kind of just scrap this last 10 minutes completely. I think we talked about the energy level probably not being there for them today, and I think they still deserve a lot of credit for how they played the first 2.5 periods of this game. So I do think there is something to build off of here, but like you said, this ending has been very frustrating.
Yeah, I think pretty much the next 5 minutes here, obviously another dangerous opportunity for the SAIT Trojans, but these next, 4 minutes and 33 seconds left in this hockey game, you really, at this point, if I were the coach, I'd be saying to the boys, getting them together and going, you know what, I know you're tired, I know it's been a tough game, we're down 5 goals, but we just need to try to find positives here for the next few minutes and leave the game with something that we can go, you know what, we did this well. But what that's going to be, we're only going to have to see.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to helping out your goaltender a bit too, right? He's played so well for them all night that you don't want to just all of a sudden have it turn, the score just get completely lopsided here. So just trying to battle hard for him for these last 4.5 minutes.
Yeah, and Brasso right now, again, he's having to make a situation where he's diving to get his glove over the puck just to stop something. Obviously, we know Portage defense, they're tired right now. They're battling through. They're doing the best that they can, but you're not going to look at the Trojans and say, take the foot off the gas, because that is almost feeling like an insult to Portage at this point. I kind of look at this the way that Team Canada played Germany a couple years ago in the World Juniors, where the German players got, devastated by the COVID situation and only had something, I think it was like 9 or 10 players available, and Team Canada had their full roster and they were just able to get a big time game. It was something like 13-0. And what do you say to the Team Canada players? Like, oh, put your foot off the gas. To the Germans, that felt almost like an insult. So it's kind of the situation that we're seeing right here. Obviously not with the same level of goal margin.
Well, it's all about habits too. You don't really get in like the habit of kind of taking your foot off the gas at times, because then that can lead to that inconsistency again. As like you said, obviously this game's over now, but they still want to be able to finish strong so they have something to build off of going forward.
Yeah, and definitely something that Portage definitely doesn't want to see here with 3 minutes and 53 seconds left is Braden Dale going into the penalty box. These last 10-15 minutes for Portage, they've just been really undisciplined, and obviously being a tired team, those 14 players only making the roster, it's tough. And we see Alex Moore with a slap shot from the point. Now the Trojans' third power play goal in a row puts them up 6-0. Going back to what I was saying is the Trojans aren't going to take their foot off the gas, and why should they? If Portage keeps making these mental errors, but that's now the third power play goal in a row. You just, if you're the coach, you're saying at this point, no more penalties, because you need to leave this game with some positivity. And by having that situation happen, it's frustrating for coach.
Oh, and speaking of frustration, you can see it from Brasso after that went in, just firing the puck off the glass. It's obviously not been the third period that he was looking for, and it's just a tough situation for him after what was a really good start to this game.
Yeah, and at this point in the game, you're not going to switch out your goaltenders. Obviously, Najenko was so good yesterday for Portage. Obviously didn't get the start today. They brought in Brasso. But, for Portage, it's just trying to finish this game off on a positive note. That was a good scoring opportunity, but just couldn't quite connect there. Vizram with the shot from the point. But yeah, for Brasso, it has to be so frustrating because he had those first 40 minutes of just such good, consistent play. But now, obviously in this third period, allowing 4 goals, really what felt like in the last 10 minutes, it has to be so, so frustrating.
Look out there, that shot from Shives from distance was a bit of a tricky one for Brasso.
Yeah, again, SAIT Trojans' new temporary home for the next couple of years here at Winsport. We are so ever grateful that they're able to do this while SAIT Campus Center Arena is currently being reconstructed. But this ice surface gets played on a lot. Before this game started, a game earlier, I think it was a U18 game, I believe, only finished 30 minutes before this, so the ice didn't really have a lot of time to rest. This ice surface is really, really bumpy and bouncy. So, you have, for the goaltender to have those weird bounces, that play that normally wouldn't be too dangerous from Shivs, just kind of dumping it in kind of from the middle line, could have turned into something a little bit more challenging than what he expected.
Yeah, it's definitely something that any goaltender that comes in place here this year, especially the Trojans goaltenders, really have to be aware of, because yeah, like you said, it can take some crazy hops on what would normally be just a routine save.
Well, definitely this is always going to work in the advantage for the SAIT Trojans, because since this is now their home arena for the next few years, they're going to start to obviously practice here. They're going to get used to these bounces. They're going to kind of know how aggressive these bounces are. They're going to be able to practice it and figure it out a little bit more. It's going to be a very big home field advantage for them, because opposing teams coming in here, they're not used to the bounciness. So they are going to have a bigger challenge trying to deal with it than SAIT is. Another good opportunity for the Trojans there. Miller coming in with a lot of speed, just couldn't get it, but makes a great play in the back end, trying to skate. He's looking for a penalty, but not going to get one. Ends up getting an icing call here. But yeah, with 1:27 left here in this hockey game, obviously the Trojans have done a really good job today. They have dictated the pace. Obviously, they have not allowed Portage to find any openings or clear openings for shots. Spencer Welke played a really, really good game, made a highlight reel save here late or midway through the third, having to make a couple of nice saves here. But Trojans have done exactly what they needed to do as we have a little bit of a scrum here in front of the net.
Yeah, Portage player just fell right on top of Spencer Welke, and the Trojans are not happy about it at all.
No, without a doubt they are not happy about that. But unfortunately for Portage, one of the things that we saw from them last year, they were the team in last place at the end of the season, only managed to win 2 games. They were the most scored on team. They struggled immensely on the penalty kill. From what I've seen today and yesterday, this is not a 2-win team. If they had a situation of where they had all of the team available, they didn't have the 14 players to make the trip, it could be a very, very different situation. And it could be a much different opportunity. Obviously, we're seeing refs have a few words here. We're not going to be trying to communicate a lot of that, but you know what? I have liked what I've seen from this Portage team. They have a lot of heart. They have a lot of fight in them.
Yeah.
They are going to be much better than what they've shown, obviously.
And you know what? This game was a closer game than the scoreboard shows, too. I know, obviously, in the third period, things got a little sorts, but they really gave the Trojans some trouble through the first 2 periods tonight.
Yeah, they really did. Obviously, refs are going to have to make some calls here. Both the captains for the teams are out here, center ice, trying to figure out what happens. We're seeing some players definitely go into the locker room, hitting the showers a little bit early here. But obviously, with a minute left in the game, 2 hard-fought games, almost 120 minutes between these 2 guys here in the last 24 hours. Tempers are definitely going to start to heat up, and you can't really blame them too much.
No, not at all. And I think that's all the referees are trying to do is just keep things under control for the final minute 19 here.
Yeah, and you definitely feel for both of these teams at the moment. They're really just trying to both get out of this game. Hopefully no one gets injured. Hopefully no one gets suspended for a game after what we saw there. Unfortunate for both teams that had to happen. Obviously, SAIT is just trying to protect their goalie when Portage players are falling over top of them. A little bit frustrating there for that, but 2 teams that have battled really, really hard against each other. Pretty much for me, what I see for Portage is they are a good defensive team. They have 2 goalies that I have confidence in. One thing that I need to see a little bit more from them is I think they need to pick up the offense just a little bit more. Obviously, they've had to go up against 2 tough Trojan goaltenders in Boston Bluis and then Spencer Welke here today. Most teams I think are probably going to have a tough time dealing with that. Trojans obviously a well-coached defensive team. It's a tough situation for any team to come in to deal with.
I think one thing we did see from Portage is that they're not going to be an easy team to play all season long. Regardless of the outcomes or what the standings might reflect by the end of the year, they're not going to be they're not just going to get walked over by any team. I think the effort level from them is outstanding. I think that says, give credit to their coaching staff for that. I think they had these guys really prepared, especially against short skaters. So once they get back to a full bench too, I think it could be even more competitive.
Yeah, obviously for Portage, having those 4 injuries to open up the season is never ideal. You definitely will always want to have your healthiest part of the year. You're hoping that the healthiest part of the year is the opening part. You don't want to deal with those injuries early. But hopefully all the Portage players can get back onto the ice sooner rather than later and really see what this team can do when they have a full bench. But here we have the final minute of this hockey game where we see the SAIT Trojans over the Portage Voyageurs 5-0. And you know what? Again, like what you're, or 6-0, excuse me. Like what you're saying earlier, Colton. The score doesn't necessarily reflect how these 2 teams have played. This third period definitely got away from Portage, but we're going to probably chalk that up to exhaustion. 2 tough games over the last 24 hours. And having that short bench. This game was a lot closer. But moving forward, what would you like to see the SAIT Trojans improve on moving into this season?
I think they kind of came out in the third period. And again, that could be just due to Portage being tired like we talked about, but I think it was by far and away their best 20 that they've had. So I think kind of just, again, a more consistent effort throughout, and they really fired a lot more pucks on Brisson in this third, so got more opportunities from it. So I think just getting pucks to the net and that consistent effort level throughout a full 60.
Yeah, and one of the things that we obviously talked about at the opening of the broadcast today and at yesterday's game is we want to see them play a full 60 minutes. I would say for SAIT today, they played a full 60.
Yeah, I think for the most part, I think early on, especially in the first, it was a little inconsistent, and since then, I think they've really come out and, yeah, kind of taken it to Portage.
Yeah, and then another thing that we talked about that the Trojans didn't really check mark on today's box is staying out of the penalty. And staying out of the penalty box. Had a few too many situations there. Unfortunate for sure, but you know what? I think Coach Drader will be very, very happy with this squad. Obviously, not here today, wasn't able to join. But that is the end of today's hockey game where we see the SAIT Trojans 6-0 over the Portage Voyageurs. Trojans outshot them 41-28. Tough game for Portage, but without a doubt, a great one.
And how about Spencer Welke picking up his first shutout in his first ACAC game?
And you know what? It wasn't an easy shutout, too.
No, not at all.
He did everything right this game. Obviously going to get a lot of love from his brothers, obviously being the two main guys out there. But boy, oh boy, it was a phenomenal game. But here we are listening into the players of the game. As we're seeing for Portage, Brisson getting the player of the game. Obviously, it's very, very understandable. And here we see Brandon McAdoo for the SAIT Trojans getting the other player of the game. He played a phenomenal game as well. Obviously, I think I might have given it to Spencer Welke. Obviously, first shutout, 28 saves, had himself a really good game. But you know what? Overall, for the SAIT Trojans, beautiful game. But we'd like to thank you all for watching and tuning into this hockey game. We'd like to see you guys all next time for some more ACAC. For Colton Pankey, I'm Brendan Donald, and we will see you guys all very, very soon.